Hi everybody. So we're jumping ahead a little bit because the camera had lost its battery, but the very next thing I done, the last thing you do after mocking up the elevators is you cleco in and match drill the elevator horns onto the elevator, and that was at the very end of the last video. Those were those white powder coated horns that you saw me, well, sort of saw me because I wasn't in frame. Anyway, the next step is to disassemble all the parts and deburr. There I am with my handy broom. So you missed me just basically breaking down the parts. That took all of about 6 minutes to do. So here I am removing the vinyl from the skins. And one thing you may have not noticed was that I actually went and had removed the vinyl from the rivet areas of the skin. And then I realized that I was doing that to the inside of the skin, not the outside. So I had to remove all of that and then redo it on the inside. Anyway, now on to deburring holes, which I'll be doing for the rest of the video. I tried to count the number of holes. I lost track somewhere around 195, which is irrelevant. I mean, both, you know, the elevator skins are different. The right is a full elevator, the left has the trim tab. And it got me thinking about aerodynamic forces and, you know, trim tab placement in an airplane. Any of us pilots that trained on a 172, you know, the trim tab's on the right elevator. You start getting into bigger planes and you notice that the trim tabs are on both elevators. Or if you trained in an Archer and it has just the stabilator in the back, then you just have the one giant trim tab that goes all the way across the back. On vans, the trim tab is on the left elevator. Now, I don't have a degree in aeronautical engineering. Actually, I don't even have a degree at all. I just taught myself everything I ever needed to know. You know, but when we're taught about flying, we're taught about the way that the prop wash moves across the airplane. You know, circulates around the back of the fuselage and then up over the tail in a very specific way. And I always assume that the trim tabs are on the right elevator because they're out of the prop wash and therefore would be subject to less variation of force due to, you know, increasing or decreasing of the throttle. Much in the way a twin-engine airplane winds up getting a lot more lift over the wings because the engines are on top of the wings. You know, the engines are running, they're pushing more air over the wing, causing more lift. As you decrease your throttles in a twin, you also decrease the lift. So as you decrease the throttle in a plane that has a tab on the left-hand side, you decrease the amount of force that goes across that tab. I just assumed that it was always on the right-hand side because of that, but apparently it's a negligible amount whenever you change, because here's vans with a left-hand tab. Now, anyone that's building a 10, the 10 has trim tabs on both elevators. I can only assume that's because it's a bigger plane and you need kind of more force to make sure that it stays level in flight. Of course, why only have one trim tab? I mean, you're talking about having force on only one side of the plane, and that's asymmetric. Why wouldn't you want to have symmetrical force? Just fascinating thoughts for someone who has no education in aeronautical engineering. Considering how much time I'm going to be spending building this plane, I could probably have gotten my degree in aeronautical engineering if I'd spent 1,800 hours studying that. So thankfully the deburring of the holes is done. And of course, now, you know, remember these elevators are just as thin as the rudders, so you want to only do one turn of the deburring tool. You don't want to dig those holes out. So now I'm just going through and using my second favorite tool, which is the file. Make sure all the corners are not sharp, rounded, everything is smooth. Anyway, I think we're going to be deburring these things for the next couple of videos, so be prepared for more nonsensical stream of consciousness from me. So, see you soon.